What's up, y'all? It's Shawn here. Just quick vlog today. So just got out of class. Had a great class, kung fu class today. It's actually really warm out right now. I'm like wearing a sweater and I'm sweating. Spring is finally here for those who live in New York City. So I wanted to do a quick vlog about podcasting. This month there's like a podcast awareness effort going on in the podcast community, and I'll put a link in the show notes or the notes below this video about it. But basically, I wanted to take a couple moments to talk about podcasting, what it is. If you don't know what podcasting is, alert you to it. If you already do know what podcasting is, I want to talk about some of the benefits, why I think you should listen to more podcasts. So podcasts are basically is like internet radio that is available at all times. And what I mean by that is that the shows are recorded or pre-recorded, and then they're published online on the internet, and they're either housed on a website or on a podcast hosting site, and then shared throughout things like iTunes or Stitcher, and there's a couple other of them now. Kind of podcast directories. And so they're a great resource because, they're becoming very much more popular. I think there's a decline in regular satellite radio, and people are making the transition to listening to more, audio on their computers and on their smart devices, because how many people still have a FM, AM dial on their device that they're carrying around with them all day? I mean, even in my house, I don't even know if we have a radio anymore. We might have some kind of device that still has it on there. I think a DVD player that we don't even really use anyways also has a radio on it. But it's just we're moving away from it as a society on a large scale. And so podcasting is this great avenue where you can still get the radio type of experience, and now you can get it at any time. And the cool thing about podcasts is that you can listen to them, you can stream them off the web. And by streaming, I mean if you're connected to the internet some way, you can, stream it directly through your internet feed, or you can download it onto your smart device or computer and listen to it at your leisure. So, for instance, where I do a lot of my podcast listening is on my commute. So I'll download whatever shows I want to listen to, and on my commute I'll just plug in my earbuds and I'll just zone out on the train and hear podcasts about serial killers, or a podcast about current events, or a podcast about sports, or a podcast about aliens, or all different types of stuff. And so it's really, really cool because, again, you can access it at any time. You can download it and just have it available. And then another thing is I think there's this big wave of people finding out what podcasts are and producing their own podcasts. So, for instance, I've been producing 3 pretty regular podcasts for about the past 3 or 4 years. In total, I've probably done about 10 different podcasts, not only for myself, but I've helped produce podcast shows for others. And you can have a really, really elaborate setup with, great mics and, a sound booth and all this kind of stuff. And, oh wait, there's a car setting up right there, a little loud. So in any case, you can have really elaborate kind of setups, or you can have really basic, bare bones, just, have your phone, have a little headset, press record on the audio recorder, and then you could go to town. And I think because it's so available to everybody, it doesn't take much to host a podcast. It's a subscription to some kind of web host every month. And, hold on, let me get this car pass. It was one of the Parks and Rec people. Sorry about that. So, like, for $20 a month, you can, you already have all the equipment if you have a smart device. And then for $20 a month, you could just start publishing it on the web and getting it hosted. And so that makes it very accessible, where if you have something that you want to say and something you want to share, or some kind of art form, maybe it's music, or maybe you're a voice actor, or whatever it is, you can now create a podcast and put it out and people can listen to it for free, or you can have subscription-based services, or there's stuff like Patreon, which is a website, like a third-party website where people make like a financial contribution to you every month to support your efforts, like public radio kind of thing. But I think more and more people should listen to podcasts, and the reason why, and also produce podcasts. If you got something to say, something to share, or if you're already sharing stuff, start transferring it over into podcast format as well. So for instance, if you're doing vlogging on YouTube, take the audio from your videos if it's appropriate and put it into a podcast format. And it's just more ways to reach different people and different layers of folks. Now, where I think podcasting really is beneficial for the individual is being able to keep accessing knowledge and information and not having to have the visual stimulation. So I'm really big on trying to get off your devices as much as possible. I know we're on YouTube right now, and this is probably where you're seeing it, or on my website. But honestly, being disconnected from, having that visual is really important. So podcasting really helps with that. Also, too, where I use podcasting or listening to podcasting is I have had historically issues with insomnia, going to sleep at night. And so what I do is I download some of my favorite fictional podcasts and sci-fi podcasts. And when I'm going to bed, I just pop my earbuds in and I pass out and I put my timer on and I fall asleep listening to podcasts. It's one of the easiest ways I can get all the thoughts out of my head and just, come down for a nice restful slumber. And it's a cool thing because if you're someone who watches TV at night and that's the way you need to cool down and decompress from the day, that can be really hard on your system and your adrenals. And so podcasting is a way that you can get that kind of stimulation, very similar to watching TV at night, but you don't have that visual stimulation, which is important. And also too, if you have a partner or a spouse and they go to sleep at a certain time, you don't want to be interrupting them with the TV being on. Podcasting is a great format. So in any case, I think everyone should listen to podcasts. If you don't know how to, basically you have to get on your smart device. Well, many of the podcasts, if you know the specific podcast you want to get, you can go directly to that person's website and stream it or download it directly from their website. But the easier way is to get some kind of podcast app. So I've used a bunch of them throughout the years, and I've tested a bunch of them just because I want to know which ones are good and which ones are bad so I can recommend it. And the one that I've stuck with historically for the past couple of years is Pocket Cast, or they shorten the name to Cast. I think, I'm next to a dog park, sorry. I think it costs a little bit of a couple bucks now in the app stores. I think it's both on Apple. I use the iPhone, but it's also on Android. And it costs $3 maybe, but it's definitely, in my opinion, worth it. When I got it, it was free. It was back in the day, but it's definitely worth it. Basically, what you can do is you can subscribe to all the podcasts that you like, and then you get notifications when new episodes become available for the podcast you like, and you also can go into the archives of the podcast that you subscribe to. Just make sure if you're using any of these apps that you have the auto download feature off, because you don't want the ones that you're subscribing to. The auto feature is basically every newest episode it downloads automatically, and that can really mess up the storage on your smart device. So I would advise you not to do that unless you got tons of storage and you don't care. But most of us do care about storage. But yeah, so you can access the podcast, and also there's an interface on almost all of these apps where you can discover new podcasts, based off of category, whether it's arts or sports or leisure, whatever it is. You can find directories for recommendations for other podcasts. So in any case, that's my pitch to get everyone to try to listen to more podcasts. I listen to at least 2 or 3 different podcasts a day. It's where I get my news. It's where I get my culture. It's where I get my sci-fi. It's where I get a lot of my martial arts stuff. I listen to tons of martial arts podcasts. So in any case, great resource, free. Almost 90% of the podcasts are free. Real quick, I just want to give a big shout out. I'm in my neighborhood. I live in the Lower East Side, and this is Tompkins Square Park. I want to give a shout out to all the folks doing Qigong out here. It's let me see if I can get more people in the view. Look at this guy. He's doing some Qigong over there. some folks. There's a bunch of people in the back. It's awesome to live in the Lower East Side. So big shout out to the Lower East Side, where we got tons of culture, but definitely the Asian community is out here strong. We're right next to Chinatown, and it's really great to see everyone out here being healthy and doing good things for their body. So I'll leave you guys at that. Listen to podcasts, download a podcast application. My recommendation is Pocket Cast, but any of them really work, okay? And if you don't already, check out the podcast that I currently produce, which is RevFit Radio, which I put for my organization, Revolutionary Fitness. RevFit Radio is the main podcast that I'm producing right now. And also check out the Palante Network, which is a new podcasting network that we're launching this year that's going to be basically promoting podcasts produced by young radicals of color. So that's going to be a dope network with a lot of cool different shows on it too. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, check out RevFit Radio, subscribe to it, download the episodes, and listen to what you think. And I'll see you guys later on this week. All right, peace.